like, bro, you look like the kind of guy who would sell fake back cards. So like whatever that vibe is kind of me, you know?
Yeah.
Like, but I also like, I'm really big on writing and having actual punchlines.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing like more disheartening, like not disheartening, but disappointing when you see a comic who's like really good stage presence, really engaging with the crowd, but then they'll go on, so maybe it's a little like inside baseball, a little technical. So there's something like, Bill Burr will go on like a little rant
Mm-hmm.
where he'll be like, oh, what do you think you're doing this? You look like blah, 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 blah. He'll say something. It's like, you can start off talking in that little repetitive speed, but if you don't say something truly funny or unique, the audience kind of gets let in like, oh, he's just rambling. I didn't go anywhere, you know?
Yeah, there's no structure to what his
there's no. Yeah, like the vibe is there. I see what he's saying. He's like the drunk New Englander at a bar or whatever. But if you're not sticking those references and landing those punchlines, the audience pretty quickly picks up, oh, there's no substance here. It's just him going, yeah, and I talked to the guys, what do you think you are? One of those guys? Or whatever.
Yeah, just bullshitting over here like, oh, it's not even funny. You already lost me. You lost me after,
exactly. But if you can take that cadence and actually, like, for a perfect example, I saw this clip come up my thing today where Bill Burr was talking about driving drunk, where he's like, and you're walking out to the car, he's like, and your whole family's yelling at you not to stop, and the women are grabbing at you. He's like, you're getting screamed at. He's like, you feel like you're in the Beatles. And it was.
Y'all, welcome back to another episode here on the JDG podcast. Give me Dukes Gaming. We are continuing our season 3, man. We're, I guess, chugging along as we're talking to different types of creators and people, different walks of life, man. And if you guys may or may not know, I'm slowly kind of getting away from just gaming and content creators, and been fortunate to reach out to people that have different professions, pursuing different careers from the norm, which I love talking to about. And we have our homie here, old homie, not like everyday best friends, but old homie, Patrick Sirois. What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. I guess as we'll probably get into with our listeners, we were friends back in like 3rd and 4th grade.
Yes, dude. Right, dude. Parkland Elementary.
Parkland Elementary, dude.
Dude, that's so crazy.
In beautiful El Paso, Texas.
Yes, man. And that's cool that we were kind of just jokingly about that since we were little. And I know it was like a small period of time that we knew each other as kids, but social media came around when we were a little older and we reconnected. And I had saw that you were pursuing being a comedian, man. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, Patrick, that's cool. Like, I can't, like, I'll be honest, I don't remember like any conversations we ever had or anything.
Yeah.
But it's cool just knowing that I was like, oh, cool, he's doing that. That's dope.
Yeah, man. I it's funny, like, with the friends that you're friends with in 3rd and 4th grade, like, I don't remember shit my friends said back.
Yeah, dude.
I remember we used to play football all the time at lunch. And we had our class had a little football team. We called ourselves the Eagles.
Yes, and the Cardinals. It was the Eagles and the Cardinals. Oh my God, dog! Holy shit! With the little, I remember it was Vincent Campbell had the green Eagles ball, and then the I forgot who had the red ball. But yeah, dude, that's hilarious. Holy shit!
Yeah, I have a weird ass, like, I remember all sorts of like unimportant shit from way back in the day.
It makes it fun though. I was like, oh shit, I remember. Like you just start triggering like little memories, right?
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, man. Like, what the fuck? But before we get started, do a little intro about yourself for somebody who may not know you or whatever, that might be listening or watching from my community and whatnot, man.
So my name is Pat Sirois. I'm a comedian. I'm based out of Austin, Texas. I'm also a podcast host. I have a podcast of my own. It's called Lie, Cheat, and Steal. We talk about scam artists. It's like non-murder true crime stories about liars, frauds, thieves, and bullshitters. If you like that, check it out. But yeah, I am. Up until very recently, I was a full-time touring stand-up comedian. I'm now back in the city. I've put it on Park and just focused on comedy here in Austin because anybody paying attention to the comedy knows that Austin is the spot for comedy right now. And after the pandemic, I was touring full time, and I was gone out the road for about 3 or 4 years, like about a year before the pandemic. Took some time off, went back on the road. And so for the last 3 years, that was my full income. That and the podcast was just touring, stand-up comic, going all over the place. You can catch me. I've been on NBC. I've been on the what do you call it? First Look with Johnny Bananas.
Yeah, I saw that. Like, that was the clip that you had put a while back. I was like, y'all were rapping and shit. I was like in the alley.
I also do a comedy rap group. That's what got me on there. Me and my friend Lane Crarup, we do Vanilla Presley, and we just do songs and freestyles, but we do it at comedy shows, and it's like we both actually rap. So it's like, it's funny, but it's good. It's kind of hard. Whenever I tell people, I'm like, imagine what you think it sounds like and cancel that. It sounds better, actually. Because, people hear, like, they see two white dudes talking about, we do a comedy rap group. And you can see their fucking
they're like, oh, God. Can't even imagine that. Oh, God, that's what you're trying to do? Yeah. Jesus.
Dude, we do, it's so funny. We do freestyles at the end of it. We close the show out, but we take suggestions from the crowd, and we freestyle about them.
Dope.
And it's like our little fucking circus trick that people love. And, but we started doing this thing to like spice it up, where we would ask people to tell us the last message in their phone that they had, and then we would rap about that. And so one time we asked this girl, we were like, "So what's the last message in your phone?" And she was like, I texted my friend. I was like, "What'd you say?" And she said, "Oh no, it's comedy rap."
You're like, all right, here we go.
I was like, you know what? Fair.
Here you go. Let's do it, right?
Yeah.
That's dope.
So that's me, man.
That's dope. And so how long have you been like doing comedy for? Like when you can say like, oh, I've been doing comedy, like you can honestly say for this amount of long, because I mean, like
it's been a minute. I started when I was 23, and so I'm 38 now, so it's coming up on 15 years. And it was a kind of a breakneck pace the whole time. I started at 23 here in Texas. I was living in Killeen, Texas. So after I left the wonderful El Paso, which I love, man. That city has always held a fucking place in my heart.
Right.
Love the town. Love the 915, dog. But I left there, and we circled around military family. We jumped around a bunch. We ended up in Killeen, Texas, and I was in a metal band, and I was rapping at the time. So I was doing mixtapes. Yeah, I was doing mixtapes, and I was the screamer in a hardcore band.
What? I didn't know that. That's dope.
Yeah. That was like MySpace days. This was before Facebook. So the time we reconnected on Facebook, that was like
over.
My senior year of high school is when I was about 22.
Yeah.
And then we were doing that. That was fun as shit. And the whole time I was recording rap, like seriously pursuing that. And Killeen, we were dropping mixtapes, me and my boys. It was fun. And so I was performing a lot. I was on stage, and I started just like, I always loved stand-up. Always been a student of comedy, you know. It sounds kind of whack, but like people say that all the time. They're like, I've always been a student of comedy. It's like, shut up, nerd.
Hey, but that's what like you liked at the time, because like I mean, when I'm growing up, I was doing certain things. They're like, oh, you play inline hockey in El Paso, Texas? Like, that's what. Like, what the fuck? I'm like,
about the inline hockey thing that I thought was cool. So we went to elementary school during the craze of Mighty Ducks.
Yes.
If you recall, that was the thing. We would always like, that was just like football. We'd always have rollerblades, and we'd try to get little like hockey games off the ground. But I was to do it or whatever.
Right.
And I saw that you were actually doing inline hockey. I was like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That was 96, man. That's when the Mighty Ducks was all fucking big. That's what got me into it. I became a student of inline hockey. Everybody's like, what?
Well, that's cool as fuck, man. But so I was doing I was on stage. I was used to that, and I saw an advertisement. I always wanted to try stand up, and I was always like, always liked being funny. And I saw a fucking advertisement for open mic in Temple, Texas. And so I went out there to the open mic. And it's funny, when you first start doing comedy, your first open mic, your whole fucking family shows up. All your friends.
Right. Let's see how terrible you are. Like, let's see what the nerves are all there.
So everybody showed up, and everybody was like, it was cool. I went up. I did okay, enough for me to be like, whatever. And then the guy hosting the mic was like, hey, you should really consider coming down to the Velveeta Room in Austin, Texas tomorrow night. And I was like, oh shit. And so like the Velveeta Room, also I have a special coming out next month that I recorded it at the Velveeta Room in December.
Oh, hell yeah.
But so I was like driving back with my girl to Killeen, and I was like, damn, I did comedy one time. I got invited to the Velveeta Room. I just got to call this number. And I called it. It was the sign up for the open mic. Like, I thought I got like a special invite to go.
Right. You're like, no, just get in line, asshole.
Yeah.
I can
So,
feel that. Like, hey, you felt special
Yeah.
for a second. Like, oh, damn, my first time out. Hey, man, maybe I got something. Like,
dude, I
no,
thought
just get in line like everybody else.
Yeah, it was very humbling out the gate. But
Right.
so I did that for a few months, and then I was I went through a breakup, and like it was like my first first long term girlfriend, so I was all fucking heartbroken.
Mm-hmm.
And she was moving down to go to college, and I was like, man, I can't let my story be that like I'm just like. She's all like, I was like, then I just like came out this breakup and then just like skidded into a life in my hometown. Nothing wrong with that. A lot of my homies did that, but I knew I wanted something else. And so I had an opportunity to move up to Connecticut because my dad's from there. And I had my aunt, I was at a family reunion. I was getting drunk with her and I was like, I got to get the hell out of Texas. And she was like, move to Connecticut. And I was like, all right. So I 6 weeks later, I came back off the vacation. I got back to Texas, packed all my shit up, went up there. And like the whole sole purpose of getting up there was I didn't get a job and shit, but it was like, I'm on the East Coast. I'm going to start doing comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of just picked up from there. And from there until like, shit, basically COVID, man. I just hit it at a breakneck pace, but that was how it started. I came out the gate and was like, this is what I'm doing. Every job I have is going to be in service of this. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be to keep the lights on while I can do this.
No shit. I love that.
Yeah. Never fucking chased, like never, I would like try to get raises. I would try to get better paying jobs, but like, I worked in sales at the time. And people that showed up, and that was them. They were a salesman. They wanted to come in, get those fat commission checks. And it was like, I'm just here, whatever the job was, whether it be sales or door guy or whatever. I was like, I'm just here to pay the bills while I do comedy. And I kept that up. And that was that was the beginning. And it went on for, I'm on year 15 now, and I was able to make a living out of it. And it was fun. But yeah, that was kind of how it started. It was like immediately was like, this is what I'm doing, and everything I'm gonna do is in service to this.
That's dope. Like, so you were doing the whole music thing, and you were rapping, and you felt confident doing that. When did you realize like the music thing wasn't like something that you could see yourself, and what drove you to do the comedy stuff? Kind of like when you were like, oh shit, like I mean, you've been rapping, you've been into music, like what made the switch and drove you to where like, all right, like I'm just gonna flip it and just do this instead? Like, what was that mindset to go through that?
Honestly, I think it was so. First of all, I was moving away from Killeen, Texas, where I grew up at. Like, I was like, trying when my mom and my dad split up. Me and my mom moved to the hood, and we had this like little shitty house in the hood. I was the only white kid on the block, and I just like was hanging out with all these like older hood ass dudes, and I got into rapping, and that was like my people. And I was like, I like that's why it was a big part of why I was like, oh, I got this because I actually got the hood behind me. I could do this. Right? Yeah.
All right, Paul Wall.
I was just some kid that was like in band and it's like, I want to start rapping now.
Yeah.
Like, it was like I actually thought I had.
You got that street cred.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little bit. Like I wasn't banging, but I was affiliated.
Yeah.
And so, but like when I moved away, it was kind of like a huge part of that was like, oh, I really enjoyed the camaraderie and wanting like me and my boys. The same thing with the band was like I liked doing music with those people. And then I moved, and it was like I think I recorded a couple songs when I got there with some like people I met. It was fun, but then it was like comedy. A big appeal to it that I loved about comedy versus music is that it's just you.
Yeah,
you don't have to wait for nobody. Like when I was in a band, it was 5 fucking people.
Yes.
So if you wanted to travel to a show, you had to have fun. Okay, we have to have at least 2 cars. Maybe a third car because we got a lot of gear, and then like you got to ride with you, and then it was always like find like some homie or some girlfriend that could like also take their car. And it was a huge thing, and then you get paid. You're splitting it fucking 5 ways.
Yeah.
You're not making any money. And then with rapping, it was like I gotta wait on this guy to get in the studio. This guy's got to make me a beat, and I gotta do this, and then like trying to light a fire under people's asses to get things done. If they don't have that same vision or goal as you can feel really stuck and high and dry. And I wasn't in like an entertainment mecca. I was in fucking Central Texas. Like I was in Killeen. Wasn't like people were checking on us.
Yeah.
And so when I got to Connecticut, and it was like I could just leave the house and go do stand up. And so I just did that.
Nice.
And started meeting people. And it was way more individually driven. And I think that was like, in retrospect, I probably didn't even notice it at the time. At the time, I was just like, oh, this is easier to do, path of least resistance. And I love it. So I'm doing this. And then after a couple of years, you're like, moving at your own pace, doing your own thing, and music just kind of went off.
Yeah,
it kind of just slid off into the background.
That's how it was more. You started focusing more of your time on that, realizing that hey, there's a future in this because I see myself doing it, and I don't have to worry about 4 other people. or other, or
Yeah, exactly.
like,
Yeah, it was a
have
big
to
part
do,
of it, man.
unless you like making your own beats and producing your own shit. I mean, that's a whole other skill set in itself.
Yeah, which I dabbled into when I got into Vanilla Presley, which we'll talk about later. Like I got into beat making, and I can make a passable beat. I could make something that's gonna be good enough to tell comedy jokes
There
over
you go.
via rap, you know,
Right?
and
I make my own beats. I really do. Right?
yeah. But like, yeah, that was the whole thing. It was like there was a whole other like music is very collaborative, which is the coolest fucking thing about it, honestly. But like, you're hindered by everybody else's work ethic and availability. Whereas comedy, it's like comedy is like way more out the gate business oriented. Like your goal immediately when you do like music, you're like, okay, I got to talk to these venues, but it's like that's even kind of weird and nebulous. Like you show up, let's say you have a hot show, okay, are they going to call you back the next month? Who knows? But comedy clubs, it's like these are what they do. They're doing shows every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They need people on stage. There's like a way more clear and visible path.
Nice, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like other than music, it's like you just gotta fucking vibe out until people catch your shit. But like comedy, as I've proven with my career, you can make a living off comedy and not be a household name.
Right? No, yeah, we're doing it for X amount of years and you know, making a living for X amount of time. Like when did you realize for example, when did you realize like, okay, like after your first paid show, you're like, okay, cool. Now I have a kind of idea how to go about everything, and I'm gonna start striving and pushing this. Like, when did you like wanted to pursue? Like, when did you got that edge? Like, oh fuck, like this is really possible. Like I got paid whatever it was at the time. The first time, you're like, if I could keep doing this, you're like, oh shit, I can actually make a living.
Yeah, it was probably honestly. That move to Connecticut is like, it changed my life. Like, I'll always be grateful to my aunt. Me and her are super close. My family's French Canadian, so I say ma tante. So my tante, but like, yeah, so my tante was like, she helped me the hell out. She was like, hey, I'll get you up here. I'll get you a job at AT&T. And I was working at a mall selling cell phones. But once I got there, like I said, out the gate, it was like, where's open mics? Where's comedy clubs?
That's dope.
I had no connection. So I started just Googling, like, and I found out there was a comedy club in downtown Hartford. So I hit them up. And I was like, yo, I'm a comedian from Texas. My video, I didn't have video.
Yeah.
I left my video in Texas. This is like 2008.
Right.
Like, I was like,
not much internet stuff, right?
yeah. There wasn't like, they'd be like, okay,
social media,
it, you know what
right?
Like,
Well, pull up your Instagram and shit. Show me something. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
It was well before all that.
Yeah.
So I fucking was able to like, get in, and I just hit up this club before I even found an open mic. I hit up the club, so I was a comedian from Texas. They're like, all right, you want to do a guest spot this Thursday? I was like, yeah. And I showed up. And that place just closed down. It was called the Brouhaha Comedy Club in the basement of City Steam Brewery in Hartford. They closed down after like 35 years.
Damn.
RFP. But like this dude, Anthony Souza, was the booker there. I emailed him. He's like, yeah, just come on in and do your thing. And I went up, and like my whole fucking family came out. So I brought a lot of people. That looked good because I got a lot of family up in Connecticut. And so everybody shows up. And I did it. I got paid. And they were like, okay, when are you free again? And I was like, well, these dates. And all right, cool. And then I found open mics and started meeting comics. And I'm like, yeah, I just went up here, but I'm playing at the Brouhaha. They're like, how the fuck are you already in at the Brouhaha? And I was like, I just emailed the guy. I don't know. And like, it was just like, it was one of those things that just happens like that sometimes. And so I got in, and I was just like, cool. Like I'm at the, like I'm seeing this happen now. I'm seeing the rhythm of like, I go, I do the show, I get a check, I wait, they hit me back up again, I come back in. And like, I started to see that. And it was probably around then immediately, like I worked at AT&T. It was a good paying job. We were selling cell phones right when the iPhone came out. Mm-hmm. So we were making fucking money hand over fist. And so they were like very serious about, you know, being, you know, your work. They wanted a lot out of you. And so one time we had a work meeting, and they were like, write down what your goals are. Not just not your professional goals necessarily, but what are your goals? And of course, it's a business meeting where people want to advance. So every goal they wrote. Yeah,
it's all work related and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, I literally just put, I want to keep to live comfortably while I pursue a career in entertainment, and I put that on there. And my manager, I'm still cool with that whole crew of people I worked with at AT&T. Like every time I play Connecticut, they show up, and
nice.
Like, it's like a reunion. And yeah, it's a very cool vibe. But I remember he talked about that the last time I had a show in Connecticut. He came out and he was like, man, he's like, I'm not going to lie. He's like, your numbers were dog shit that month. And when you put that, he's like, when you put that down, he was like, I was so pissed off.
You motherfucker.
Yeah, he's like,
of course, you don't fucking care about this damn place. And you want to.
Yeah. So I'm trying to coach you as an employee and shit. It's like, but it was pretty much like that. And so at that point, I was like 23. So I was out the gate. I was like, this is what I'm doing. And it kind of like, it was a rough, obviously, like we can get into that more. The journey ain't easy. You
Yeah,
give
of
up a
course.
lot, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of shit, like I don't own a fucking home, you know, there's a lot of shit you got to put on hold. But like out the gate, it kind of lets you, like, if you really believe in it and that's what you want to do, at least for me, I can kind of shield myself in that, where I'd be like, damn, I'm jumping job to job. Like, I'm not really doing what I want to be doing. But I was like, I am doing what I want to be doing. I'm pursuing my shit. I'm a comedian. This is what I want to do. This is just par for the course. It's going to be more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to have the stability that a lot of my homies have.
Yeah.
But like, I embraced that pretty early on.
I know. Yeah, it's at a
Okay.
young age too, like that. Like the way you're talking. Like when I was 23, I was just fucking drinking and hanging out and playing hockey. I had nothing going on. Nothing.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I was still drinking and hanging out, but it was like but it was all like, and I say this, that I'm not necessarily saying it like it's the best thing. Like, looking back, I'm glad I did it, but like, when I say like everything I did was in service to comedy, like if I was hanging out, it was like I was hanging out with comedians at comedy clubs. You know, if somebody was like, hey, let's do drugs till 5 a.m, I would do it, A, because it was fun, but B, also because like
with material.
It's like, yeah, so well, these are comedians. Like I'm hanging out with comics.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah,
I know if I go out, like it's gonna be. I was on the scene. I stayed out late with them. I saw everything that happened. Now when they're in town, and like, you know, this guy was in town featuring, and he wanted somebody to take him out and get him drunk, I'd take him out,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just like whatever. Like everything I did was essentially in service to it, and like I said, it kind of gives you a little bit of drive. Like I always knew what I was trying to do and what I was going for. I wasn't always executing it correctly, but I always knew what I was working towards, and that was helpful.
Yeah. The fact that at such a young age, like for something like that, because a lot of people don't understand, because during that time, you know, like showing our age a little bit, it's like, yeah, go to school, have a certain job, you got to do this and like that. Because even that at that age, I was going to school, but I didn't really know what the hell I wanted to do. You know what I mean? So I didn't have like a vision other than like, all right, I'll go to school, I get my IT degree, and I'll be in IT, right? That was like after I was like that. But something that's like off the beaten path, that's the thing that I really enjoy hearing people talk about, because you're saying, hey, it's not the norm and it wasn't the best, but I'm glad that I did it and I wanted to do it because you already had the vision. I didn't like, now that I've been doing content, I just started doing this like 4 years ago, and like I have a vision.
Yeah.
I like before it was more like, okay, I'm gonna have a house, I'm gonna have a wife, I'm gonna have kids, and that's what I want to do. But it was never like I have a vision to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was just kind of happening at you, like a little bit.
Yeah, and the fact that you had that thought process and you were already setting everything up, like doing all this stuff, it's gonna help me pursue what I want. You know what I mean? Being doing these open mics and nobody shows up, or doing these shows and I have my friends and hanging out and getting and you know, getting to know the crowd. I mean the people in the industry and shit. Like that's the things that you have to do if you're gonna start doing something in entertainment. How you're saying, right?
Yeah, it was interesting. It kind of like, it was cool too. Like I got to hang out with, like, I don't know, I made like friends. I like in comedy, there's people of all ages and backgrounds trying to do it, and so I met people that like I otherwise never would have met. Like when I like in Connecticut, a lot when I started. When I first started hitting the mics, I was me and like 3 or 4 of my homies that I'm still very close with all to this day. We're like the youngest people in the comedy scene. This was New England. It was like pre-comedy pop. Like, you know, comedy's popping right now, and it happened. There was like a pop back in like 2012, and we're still kind of riding the wave. And like, but this is like pre-comedy pop. And like, it was, you know, New England open mics. There's a lot of older dudes, a lot of guys my age now. They're like in their late 30s or early 40s. And we were all like 23, 24-year-old kids. And like, I remember like, but I got to meet all these older people, and it was also, that was kind of cool. It was like, when I go back to Connecticut and do shows, some of the people that show up are guys like that, you know, like my friend Howie Mason, very funny comic in Connecticut. Never would have met that guy. He's like, he's got a wife and kids and a house, and he's an older dude, and he's like works in a professional job, but he's like very funny, and he does stand up. And me and him, we talk back and forth like he's one of my homies my age, you know, and it's cool to have him. What you were saying about the direction thing, I always think of this story. I have a friend of mine that I grew up with, and he's him and his wife had their kids. Like literally, he met her the night we graduated high school.
Nice.
Well, the night he graduated, I graduated a semester later at one of those schools that like pregnant teen moms go to. But,
let me go finish over here.
He graduated on time, and so we're walking out of the Bell County Expo Center, and he meets his wife. Her friend comes up and is like, "Yo, my friend thinks you're cute." months later, she's pregnant. So
Nice.
his life just immediately started for him right out the gate. It was like, hey, this is your
Had to
life
grow
now.
up right away. Yeah.
Had to grow up right away. We were hanging out one time, I think back visiting Texas from Connecticut, or I just moved back. And so I was hanging out. He was asking me about having a manager for comedy. And he was like, you have a manager? I was like, nah. And he was like, what would you look for in a manager? I was like, well, it's got to be somebody you can trust. And I was like, honestly, I always thought if I had a manager that was a friend of mine, it'd be you. Because, you got I think you got the personality for it. And I was like, but I know you got, the wife and kids and stuff. And we were drinking in his garage. He was like, yeah. And he got up and he like shut the garage door real quick. And he was like, bro, I'd do it in a fucking second.
Hell yeah. Please help me.
Yeah, so like, it was cool. Like I like you have to find moments of solace and stuff like that where you're like, I would definitely, when I was like at my worst, I would hit him up to borrow cash because he had his shit together. He had a life, and he would help me out. It was always cool. But like, I knew there was things that like stability that he had that I didn't have. But then you start to talk to people and you find out like, like I'm not saying like I'm glad that they don't have what I have. I'm not saying like that, but it's like it makes you feel better about like this lifestyle when your friends are like, dude, yeah, whatever, I got my shit together, but like you're having fun, man. Like you're experiencing life, and there's something to be said for it.
Yeah, I like that. I've gotten that recently more since I've been doing content. Everybody's like, damn, you're doing all this shit full time, and you still have a job, and you still all this. I'm like, yeah, for me, I had to get to this place to where I can start pursuing this kind of thing and kind of juggle everything, because I've had a lot of friends who are, in their careers and professions, and they see me doing this, and the job that I have is I don't make a lot of money, but I'm okay, right? And I'm pursuing this, and hopefully it leads to something. But they're so like, dude, that's dope, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like getting the props and like having somebody like honestly just applaud and try to support you from afar, following something that's not normal. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna start a podcast and hopefully it leads to something, or I'm gonna be a comedian. I'm gonna do all this. Like, I'm gonna be a rapper. I'm gonna be a singer. I'm gonna do it. Like, that's not like the normal way. So when people start, doing well, people are like, damn, I wish I could have done that. Or damn, like, I'm glad you're doing it, which is cool because it's not normal. Everybody feels like they have to fit in a certain box in a certain way and do certain things. And sometimes they regret not being able or to do those kind of things. Or like, damn, I wish I had the balls to just fucking do it.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It helps because like this shit is as it goes on, like it like I always just joke about like when you, like I said, your first time you do comedy, your whole fucking family shows up, all your friends show up, everybody's like, oh my god, that's so cool. And then like, you're 2 or 3 years in and you get that question and people always go, hey, you still doing that little comedy thing? Yeah, you still like, you're like,
hey, Jimmy, you still got that little podcast thing?
Yeah, he's gonna do it like this, man. Like my podcast. I'm lucky enough. Like my podcast makes me money, and it's a blessing. But like, I literally will have people be like, "You still need a little podcast thing?" Like, bro, the way I pay my rent, dog. Like,
I hate that shit, dude. I hate it. You still do. Or like people are like, oh, you still got your little business, like, or like when people are trying to pursue. I had a buddy who had a pool service. Oh, you still got your little pool service? His pool service is making him money. Like, what are you saying? A little pool service? You know what I mean? Like down, just down, like just looking down at them, like.
I think it's like to give people a bit of the doubt. I think sometimes it's like a figure of speech where they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but you hear it. You hear it regardless if they admit it or not. You hear it,
Motherfucker.
Yeah. As time went on, and you would just kind of see that. Like, I've had relationships go south though. Like when I first started picking up on touring, I was dating this chick for like 6 years, and we were together, and it was. Towards the end, we were at that stage towards the end where you just fucking hate each other, and so I started touring,
but still stay together.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like
fuck you. I'm not leaving. You're leaving. Like, who's leaving? It's a standoff.
Yeah, she had 2 kids, and like I was like on the list to like pick them up from school, and she was like, "Well, we can't break up. I got to pick up Max tomorrow. Like I can't."
Right.
And so. But we were like towards the end there. That's when I met up with my booker that had me on the road for the last couple of years. I started working with him, and I started going on the road, opening for some of my friends at other clubs. And that's when like road work started picking up. And I remember like it was in retrospect, it was like this moment where I knew it wasn't going to work. Was I was like, oh hey, I got picked up for another week on that brewery tour. I'm about to go out, and she was like, oh, so you're going to go out and get drunk for a week while I stay at home with the kids? And I was like, and again, they weren't my kids.
Yeah.
So I was like, I mean, when you say it like that,
right?
Yeah, it was like. basically is what's gonna happen. It's like that kind of like is what put the cracks. I mean, we were already fucking hating each other.
Yeah.
That was like the pressure that was like, okay, you're trying to do a whole entirely different thing, and yeah, it's like you gotta like cycle shit out of your life like that. It happens.
Yeah, that's crazy. So like, you know, you already got your steam going. You're talking about, and you're already putting all this time in and touring. Like, what like, can you somebody who doesn't know you and now they're gonna look you up? Can you like describe your type of material? Like, because certain comedians have like certain styles and certain things. Like, how would you describe your style, your type of material?
Yeah, so this is always a difficult question unless you are that, like, if you're a one-liner comic or whatever. Like, but a lot of comics would just be like, I don't know, I just try to say what's funny, and that's always a cop-out answer. So I was actually thinking about this when I read the prompts. But like, the nicest thing I've heard anybody say about me was somebody called me a white Patrice O'Neal, and I loved it. Like,
I'll take it. Thank you.
I will take that. Yeah, somebody told me one time, it was like, I was the funniest dude at the barbecue. I was like, okay, I'll take that.
There you go.
Too.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I kind of do. Like, I like to think I have good writing. It's punchlines. I'm not just like doing like, hey, let's deal with that. But
yeah,
it's kind of like behaviors. The way people behave is very funny to me. And so I'll talk about is the things that people do, or also kind of like being a scumbag myself. That comes up a lot in my comedy. Like, one of my openers is a whole joke about, like, it's I'll just burn of material on the podcast, but just to give you an idea, is I go like, I'm like, yeah, guys, I drove here. Don't you hate when this happens? You're on the highway. You're doing the speed limit. Some guy behind you decides he's going to ride your ass. He's like, hey, excuse me, sir, but some of us have warrants.
Right. So I'm not going to be hauling ass.
I set myself up as just kind of like a little bit of a scumbag. I talk about work quite a bit. In fact, my special that's coming out, it's called I Don't Even Work Here, because I have a whole bit about how, like, I just look like I have every shitty job. I can't stand outside of a club smoking a cigarette. People start showing me their IDs.
Right. You're like, I'm actually the headliner.
Yeah, I'm headlining. Yeah, literally. Now I'm headlining tonight. Like, that happens all the time. Like, I currently, since I got off the road, I'm joining the electrician union, so I'm an electrician now. And like, I'll tell people I work construction. They're like, yeah, no shit. And I'm like, I don't. So like,
you look like you do.
Yeah, like that guy. I had one comic. This dude Tyler Fisher. He's a pretty funny guy. He's a very successful now. He's a little more like on the right wing side of things these days. And I was doing some shows with him in Houston. And we were driving, and I was trying to avoid the pandemic because he talks a lot about like vaccines and shit in his act, whatever. But I was trying to avoid those conversations on the road, and it came up. And I was telling a story about how I was scrambling to find my Vax card when I was at a show, and I was like scrambling to look for it. And I was like, and I always feel nervous because I look like the kind of guy who'd have a fake Vax card. And he was like, bro, you look like the kind of guy who would sell fake Vax cards. So like, whatever that vibe is kind of me,
Yeah.
Like, and but I also, like, I'm really big on writing and having actual punchlines. Like, there's nothing like more disheartening, like not disheartening, but disappointing when you see a comic who's like really good stage presence, really engaging with the crowd, but then they'll go on maybe it's a little like inside baseball, a little technical. So there's something like, Bill Burr will go on like a little rant where he'll be like, oh, what do you think you're doing this? You look like blah, 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 blah. I'll say something. It's like, you can start off talking in that little repetitive speed, but if you don't say something truly funny or unique, the audience kind of gets let in, like, oh, he's just rambling. I didn't go anywhere,
Yeah, there's no structure to what he's
there's no. Yeah, like the vibe is there. I see what he's saying. He's like the drunk New Englander at a bar or whatever. But if you're not sticking those references and landing those punchlines, the audience pretty quickly picks up, oh, there's no substance here. It's just him going, yeah, and I talked to the guys, what do you think you are? One of those guys? Or whatever.
Yeah, just bullshitting over here like, oh, it's not even funny. You already lost me. You lost me after,
exactly. But if you can take that cadence and actually, like, for a perfect example, I saw this clip come up on my thing today where Bill Burr was talking about driving drunk, where he's like, and you're walking out to the car, he's like, and your whole family's yelling at you not to stop, and the women are grabbing at you. He's like, you're getting screamed at. He's like, you feel like you're in the Beatles. And it was like a really funny thing, but like, if he hadn't had that, it feels like you're in the Beatles, that would have been like a mildly funny drunk uncle telling a story.
Yeah, right.
But so I try to do that where, like, I have this kind of like very loose bravado on stage. I'm pretty high energy, not really high energy, but like I talk fast, as you probably picked up on.
Mhm.
And so I'll go, but I like to make sure that I'm sticking it with actual punchlines and
Yep.
actual jokes.
Right.
And yeah, and that's an ideal world, you know. Like fucking, I'm not saying everything that comes out of my mouth nails
It's fire.
the mark
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
but,
Right.
yeah, but like, because I do a podcast, so I have to make up jokes on the fucking fly all the time.
Right.
And like sometimes you hit it, you say something that gets gets people DMing you, like, bro, when you said this, I just lost it.
Right.
Like, good, yeah.
That was great. Well, that was right off the
Yeah.
cuff. I didn't even come.
Off the
Yeah.
fucking top,
Yeah, right off the
Yeah.
dome and shit. But that's dope.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I like. Like, I don't know too much when it comes to like the structure and like the building of the jokes and stuff like that. But what are some misconceptions about comedians? Like I mean, you've been doing it for over 15 years now. What are some like misconceptions that people like? Oh, they don't have shit going on. Like just they're just they're low lives. Like I mean, like I've heard terrible things like that. But that could be for anything. You know what I mean? Like
it could.
Oh,
be.
you're a musician? Oh yeah, you're probably just a piece of shit. You don't even fucking do anything.
Yeah. I think I will say this, and this might be like a little bit like still taking a swipe at comics. I think a big misconception about comics are the kind of self-aggrandizing things that comics themselves perpetuate. Like when they try to like when I meet comics that say things like I'm a warrior for free speech, or I'm like a modern day philosopher, or whatever. I get a little thing in the back of my head that like bugs me, because like I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like I agree that comedians, I guess they're philosophers in a way. I understand the thinking, but I feel like that kind of oversells it a little bit, because I'm in my head, I'm like, man, we're just like, I was thinking this today. Somebody was like, oh, comedians. I heard somebody say comedians are smart, and I'm like, we're quick. And there's two different things. I'm not saying every comedian's
unless they're good.
Smart.
If they're terrible, then
yeah. But yeah, there's a difference between smart and quick, and so I think there's sometimes is that there's this idea that like comedians are like these like tortured souls with like these real like nihilistic minds. And I'm not saying there's not guys out there like that, but I'm saying I think there's guys out there leaning into that.
Yeah.
Who are like, and that's why I get a little frustrated when I see people using comedy or being a comedian to excuse themselves for their behavior.
For being an asshole.
For being an asshole.
Yeah.
Like I don't when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, like, okay, I get it. I don't think you should walk up in public and take a swipe at a guy for telling what was a very harmless joke about your wife, especially when she's fucking all of your son's friends.
Right.
You know
That's not big of a deal. But you did it in front of us. I'm gonna fucking do something.
Yeah, but I come from a place where if you talk shit about a guy's wife, he might punch you in the fucking face.
Right.
And so in my head and maybe my brain, that kind of supersedes whatever. Oh, the jester should have free reign to speak what he wants or whatever. Like, I feel that's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, if you talk some shit, you might expect to get slapped in the face. So I feel like things where comedians sometimes will excuse their bad behavior, the fact that like I'm a comic, or I can say all these things that are offensive, but it's like they don't want to deal with any of the consequences of it. That bugs the shit out of me, because it's like, no, you can say whatever you want, but you got to be ready.
You got to stand on, you got to stand on,
you got to stand on it, And if people decide that they don't want to talk to you or watch your shit or follow your special because you made a joke about something that hurt their feelings or whatever, at the end of the day, it's like you have to expect that to happen. So another thing that makes me mad is when comedians get mad about that happening.
Yeah,
that always bugs me, because it's like, what would you, if you're saying something offensive? And you're talking about you want to live in this ideal world where you say something offensive and no one gets offended. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, then that's not offensive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you're not pissing people off, then you're not doing the job right.
Yeah.
Okay, another misconception is I'll talk to people after a show, and this always comes up because there's that like culture war thing going on right now, and people will be like, "Oh, well, you're a comedian. It's your job to offend people," and I'm like, "Wrong. If all I'm doing when I'm on stage is offending people, yeah, like what the
fuck? All right, that's my MO. Is I'm going to make sure just point somebody and just start talking shit and just give everybody a hard time. That's my job.
Yeah, just make sure,
like that's all I'm good for, right?
Make sure no one has a good time. Like I don't want people walking out of my show being like, "That was I just got yelled at for an hour." You know, like, I want people to have fun and laugh. So I think that's that, I will say I'll hit it up on the other side in a sec, but I feel that's like the misconceptions that are out there about comedians that I feel comedians lean into.
Yeah,
and that kind of bugs me. But the other thing out there is like people feel there's this whole other thing about comedians being like these like having like a lot of mental health issues. And I get a lot of comedians do. I have a lot of friends that do. But like people tend to like default to that sometimes with you. They're like, and they'll assume that you're dark or you're nihilistic or you're edgy or whatever the case. And that's really not the same thing either. It kind of bugs me because I'm like, I had this happen one time. I was seeing this girl in Connecticut, and I stopped by her restaurant. It was this real high end place. So I'm at the bar, and there's this old white dude that's like one of her regulars, and he goes, "Hey, she was like, this is my friend Pat. He's a comedian." He goes, "Oh, comedians, huh? Hey, isn't it true that you guys always say you're happy, but deep down inside you're always sad?"
Like, damn. Right?
I'm like, fuck, I don't know. Maybe I'm sad
well,
now.
maybe just second guess myself right now. Shit.
Yeah, but like, yeah, exactly. It's like so much like you'll see like these like pop culture things. You see comedy represented in movies is also a very funny thing because like any show about comedians I think is inherently flawed because it makes it's so much about comedy. When so much of being a comedian, it has a lot to do with comedy, clearly, but it has like so much more of it is just like hanging out with your boys who are also comedians, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that's the thing that like people don't really show. And like when you see media, it's always like it's either like they're tortured geniuses or they're like scumbags. It's really just fun and shit. Like I hang out with my comedian friends who just as it would have it, tend to be funnier than your average person.
Yeah.
And so like also like way more likely to like you were like be joking with your boys and like this has to be a lot. You're joking with your homies or just like coworkers or whatever, like you're civilians, normal ass people. And you're joking and you guys have a little joke going and then you take the joke like one step, not necessarily too far, but like a step further.
You're like, oh damn.
And they're like, what the fuck? Yeah. And it's like I love hanging out with comedians because they're down for that. They're ready to go. And like, we'll just take a fucking joke and beat it to death. And like, another thing, yeah, like we were like, my homie Zach Brooks, he did a set last night and he has his, he was at the Velveeta Room here in Austin, Texas. Great fucking place. And he hadn't done a set in a while. So he went up and he had this new joke he's working on about when websites give you cookies. When websites say accept these cookies. And he was like, man, but they, cookies is such a nice word. They should really call it like it's bad. It's data mining, whatever. He's like cookies. And so then he just made cookie puns. And he was like, no, I'm not going to sign your, one of them was your Nello waiver.
I'm not going to tell your Nello waiver and shit.
Yeah. And I mentioned that was like oatmeal browsing cookies or whatever, just like shit like that. Where like if I was hanging out with like regular people, they might be like, "Yo, who's this guy that keeps making one more joke than is necessary?"
Right?
Like, and so like I love
you just keep going in on it, try to keep it going.
Yeah.
Like let's see how far we can get to make it funnier and shit like that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And you get clever because like you guys are like how you were saying you're quick, you're witty and clever, and like somebody says something funny, and then like you guys start one-upping each other, and it makes it even funnier. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly
that's the banter that you guys have and the camaraderie, right?
And that's what I love. And like, there'll be times like I've my comedian homies like a subsect of them. There's like a huge scene here in Austin, but the dudes from the old school, the guys from like the pre-Rogan Austin area that I came up with, we have this little bar that we run. I'm not gonna say it's off the books, but it's off the fucking books. And if you're ever coming to Austin, you will be coming out for a drink at this bar. It's fucking fantastic.
Nice.
But we'll be there and like we'll have a riff, like it's called a riff, like you're riffing with the boys. We'll have a riff going, and it'll go off into like some crazy place, and then like we'll have our laugh, it'll be done, and then somebody will show up, and we'll be like, "Yo, dude, you missed the riff." Okay, it started like this. Homeboy said this, and then he was like this, and we were like, "What if?" The last one we had was we were watching The Matrix. It was on the TV. And it was the part where the character Tank walks in and goes to Neo and he just goes, "Hey, I'm Tank." And out of nowhere, the bartender, my homegirl Ava Smart was bartending, and he goes, "Hey, I'm Tank." And she goes, "And I'm a top."
Tank top.
Yeah, and so just like, and then it just turned to him being like a top fucking like sexually. And we were like, and then the joke turned into Neo waking up out the fucking Matrix and then finding out that he can't fuck the robots. And it's like, what do you mean I can't fuck? Well, can the robots fuck me? It's like, no. It's like, and we just went on this thing and we died laughing. And then somebody else showed up and we were like, "Oh, dude, you missed the riff." And we like gave it going. Breakdown. Yeah, we gave the breakdown of where we were at with it, what it was, and like where it ended up. And like, we love that shit.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a fun thing that I don't think people see that side of comedy, where it's like we're not making fun of each other, we're not busting each other's balls, we're literally just like
bullshitting
a dumb joke premise that we just spiraled out for 15 20
right and it was amazing, right?
It was like, like that. Like I live for that's the whole reason that bar exists, is so we have a place to hang out
right
and do that,
Here, this is the place we're gonna go and bullshit and have these riffs and shit like that.
Exactly. So like, I think that's like I would like when I watch a show like Crashing or whatever, like the like shows about comedians, or even like Funny People, which is a show about comedians, and it's like they have like this almost like locker room vibe where they're like backstage, like, "Hey, you going up tonight? All right, cool. Be careful. They're crazy out there."
Right.
Like those conversations happen, but like so much more of it is just like you're smoking a cigarette and you see some dude walk by and you're like, "Yo, that guy looked like this guy," and you all start laughing. It's like it's a lot. It's a very. That's why people will stay into it for fucking years, even if their career's not going anywhere, because it's like where else is cooler than this?
Right. Know? It's fun to do. But with all that stuff going on, and even though you've been doing it and the camaraderie and all that stuff, was ever a doubt you're like, maybe like hang it up? You know what I mean? Like anywhere in between like the 15 years where like, you know, because I could only imagine how you were saying it's like ups and downs, just like anything else when something's not a steady paycheck, you know, and then going through the whole damn COVID thing too. I mean, you can't go out and perform. You know what I mean? Like
that was that. There's been times, like as with anything, for me, like it usually I feel so like if the doubt that you're feeling is the doubt for the whole career field, you know, by all means, like listen to that, like at least explore it, like don't be afraid. There's some people that like I got some homies that love these guys to death, but like they're not funny enough to be a professional comedian, you know? And you're just like, man, you just don't have it. And like they keep going and they set themselves up for so much emotional failure because it's like, bro, it's like my homie has this thing where he's like, he is a joke he says, but he's like, you'd be happier if you quit. Like if you just quit you'd be happier. If you would
just quit, your life would be just so much better. You wouldn't even realize it.
Better. There's this weird thing. There'll be like a comedian nobody likes. And when I say comedian, all you have to do to be a comedian is go do open mics.
Right.
Like if I know you from doing open mics, even if you've never gotten a professional paid comedy gig, I will refer to you every time I bring you up as a comic. I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that guy, he's a comic from such and such." So that's all you need. That's all you need is just somebody who's seen you do comedy before. So I have like comedy friends that like this is just like it's like really not what they're cut out for, and they won't do it. And it's like, man, like you should probably just, you know, hang it up. But then what's funny is there'll be a comedian that nobody likes or fucks with or thinks is very funny. And then that comedian quits doing comedy and their respect goes through the roof. People will be like some dude, like some guy that we never thought was funny or really technically thought about at all. And then they'll quit doing stand-up. Be like, "Hey, you heard from so-and-so?" Be like, "Yeah, dude, he quit. He works doing this right now." "Oh, dude, I love that guy, man. He's great."
As a comedian, he was a piece of shit, man. But anything else, he's a great guy. Yeah, your life would be so much better if you just quit.
Your respect goes through the fucking roof.
That's like, hilarious.
It's a very weird. It's like we don't know we're doing it. It's just that's how it happens. You're like, "Oh, so and so quit." I have a homie that quit comedy and started a Habitat for Humanity chapter in Austin. Just like it was like, "Oh, you're doing something." Like we all know comedy for what it is. Like this is this little dingy ass art form, and you're just like actually helping the world.
Right.
Like, every time I bring him up, we're like, "Oh, I fucking love that guy."
Right. Cool. He's amazing, man. Like, I'm just a piece of shit doing comedy.
Exactly. That's like I don't put it on a pedestal at all. But if there's that's if you're feeling that the game is not for you or the whole fucking life for you, listen to it. But where I've had to listen to myself is be like, this situation within comedy is not for me and it's not working. And that gets really serious when you start doing it professionally. Yeah. Because sometimes you'll have a booker and that is your lifeline to paid comedy. That is the person who really arbitrates whether you're going to make enough money to pay your rent that month or not. And you put up with a lot because this is what you wanted to do. You wanted to pay your bills with comedy. Yeah. So I had a booker that I worked with for like 4 years, and there's going to be a fucking Netflix documentary about this guy at some point. Because everyone who's worked with this guy is like, man, just what a swinging for the fences maniac asshole. You know, just like one of the most abrasive fucking racist, sexist assholes. Like, not racist, but like he's this guy and he's crazy. And like, but he fucking if you get in good with him, he'll put you on the road and you'll work as much as you want to. At least that's how it used to be. It kind of changed, which is why it's not working with him. But like you get in with that guy and you'll find yourself like, and this is just him. This is a lot of bookers. Yeah. There are a lot of like people who gatekeep paid stage time. Yeah. You know, like you'll get in with them and you'll find yourself putting up with some bullshit. And you're like, you know,
do I want to keep doing this?
Do I want to keep doing it? That was why I got off the road with my last guy. I did it for a few years. I probably should have stopped a year sooner than I did, but I found myself like, we're friends on socials. You see me, I'll post my tour schedules up.
Yeah.
I'll go do some cool cities, but you see those little connective tissues where I'm like, yo, dog, I'm in Holdridge, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's these weird ass little rooms, but it's like that's how you get the check. You go to the city to get famous. You go on the road to get paid.
Yeah,
and that's a little comedy expression. So, or maybe entertainment. Who knows? But so you go like you'd be out there and like I was getting my hotels paid for. I was getting I was getting paid every night for my shows. I was getting good tips. It was like I was making it. But then there'd be times where it'd be like, damn, like I need a new set of tires, and I've like driven my car all over the country for you, and it's like. Like I'm not getting that out of you. You're not giving me that. And then it turned into like he was mismanaging his dates and the tours started really zigzagging and you were spending way more fucking gas because he can't keep a relationship open with a venue and the schedule no longer is a straight line. Now it's a lightning bolt. And because he has to pick up all these little secondary venues. Yeah. And you would just see stuff like that. And that was something where I was actually at a pretty low point. This was like last year in April. I did my last tour and I was just like, we started off with 17 shows. I think we ended up only doing 12. And like, cause he's canceling or it was a venue that was untested, but he said, fuck it. I'll send my guys to drive out to Henderson, Nevada anyways. And it's like, oh, hey, guess what? 7 tickets got sold. And it's like, just shit like that, where you're like, I had to have a conversation with myself. Like, okay, I want to do stand up, but this isn't working. Yeah. I had to be honest with myself. Yeah. And it sucked because I could get the little dopamine dump out of it. I could post a flyer that had fucking 17 tour dates on it, and it looked really good. It looked cool, and I could post like, "Yo, I'm here in the city doing it." It looks really good on social media. But I knew that like I was stressed the fuck out trying to pay my car note. I knew that like I had. The hotels were free, but I had to pay the deposits on the hotels, and those were like so. I had like 5 nights in a row where I'd pay $100 deposit. Now I got $500 hanging in the ether, and like waiting for this shit to just cycle through for the days in, and like and then you like I knew what the reality of it was, and so I had to be honest with myself and go, okay, look, I still want to do comedy, I still want to do stand up, but this isn't working, and I need to be honest with myself, and I need to fucking pull the trigger on that. And I did that, and like because I was able to have that conversation with myself, maybe a little too late, but I was able to have it. I'm in a situation where I'm at now, which I love. I'm in Austin. I'm in the comedy capital of the country. I'm like getting back out, meeting people that I missed while I was out fucking barnstorming the Midwest. And like I'm meeting all like people who are movers and shakers. I'm making connections. I have a stable job. I have money coming in. I was able to pivot the podcast because the podcast makes money, but that money was going to my rent, to my bills.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to funnel it back into the podcast and actually try to grow the shit. And I have this level of stability and this new field of opportunity that I would not had I just been like, well, no, I want to be a touring road comic, so I have to put up with this bullshit. I hit it. I did a hard pivot on my lifestyle, and it was like, hey, now instead of playing fucking, breweries 5 nights a week, I am getting up 5 mornings a week and going and being an electrician, and then getting out doing my podcast and doing stand up at night in a city where it's popping. And I wouldn't have had that if I hadn't had that conversation with myself.
I like that. That's one thing too. And as I've gotten older too, because I have an IT degree and I've worked in IT for like 15 years. And I after COVID, I was a little sour. I lost my job, like a little story. But when I started getting into content, like everybody was streaming. So I started streaming. And then I realized I can't be live as much as I would want. So I can't be successful as much as I think as a streamer. So I had to pivot my content. And I was like, all right, what can I do that I see myself doing and maybe like start trying to generate some money and monetize some of my content. Just being live for 8 to 10 hours a day for me wasn't going to work. So I was honest with myself. Like, fuck, I want to play games and I want people to watch me. Ain't nobody going to watch me. Nobody fucking cares. As much as I would want, nobody fucking cares. But when I started like doing the like podcast and like kind of getting away and doing more things, I was like more honest with myself, but I was happier because, I have content homies that, have full-time jobs and just like, hey, they fucking say 9 to 5 saves lives. You know what I mean? Everything that I'm doing, that my IT degree and all the money that I generate, I'm trying to build my brand and build something that I could see myself doing. But that's good that you have that because a lot of people will just be like, fuck it, and just quit. Like, I don't want, instead of like trying to be more honest and just pull back a little bit and kind of have a more of a game plan to pursue what you want to do.
Exactly. Like, my shit was just like hit the road and like go and like it did a number on my mental health and like it kind of fucked up my last relationship, and like I was able to step back and I brought my car a little too late or later than I would have liked, but I was able to rally, wrangle it back in and get it under control. And there's some people that, and that's not just comedy. There's some people that never had that honest conversation with themselves. That's where you see a lot of like comedians. Like you see a lot of, it's probably this other fields, but you see a lot of like, hey guys, I'm quitting stand up, and it's like, I feel like if I ever needed to quit stand up, I just wouldn't say anything.
Yeah, dude.
Stop.
Dude, I see that all the time with content creators. All right, guys, I'm not going to be streaming no more. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Like, just nobody fucking cares. As much as you think nobody fucking cares, just right into the sunset, because there's a million other people doing the same goddamn thing. You know what I mean? But I always give props to people that keep doing things, even though it might not be what they are like. Because, it's a numbers game, especially with like, oh man, I'm not getting any likes. Nobody's coming my shit. Nobody's like, that could take a toll on you too. You know what I mean? But staying the course is what I always tell. I always give people props of staying the course. If you're true and you're honest and you know what your vision is, regardless of what everybody else is doing, you're still doing your thing. That's when I give more props and I get a different perspective. Like speaking to you about you being a comedian, man, that like hearing that story and giving me that different perspective, like drives me to keep doing what the fuck I'm doing. You were doing that for 15 years. I'm only going 4 years in. Like, let's be honest. You know what I mean? Like, be honest with myself. So when I talk to people who are business owners and doing shit like that, there's a struggle. And like that point where you're like, oh shit, is this for me or not? And a lot of the time when you're honest with yourself and you start making the right decisions to help you pursue what you still want to do, that's when people turn that corner.
Yeah. It really is. It's like that. It's like, it also doesn't have to be all, never has to be all or nothing. Like that's like very few things in life work that way, where it's just all or nothing. I mean, shit, I got a homie who is in a wildly successful band that tours internationally, that has a gigantic following, and like he also does stand up here in Austin. He's hilarious, and he also has a job. He has a day job. For a while, he was bartender. Now he works for a corporation. It's a corporate job, but like he'll be like, yeah, I had to take 2 weeks off work. We're going to Japan and playing shows for 2 weeks, and like he still is able to maintain a life. And that's another thing I do content creation in the sense that I do a podcast, and my podcast as an offshoot needs to make content. So I guess I'm a content creator. It feels weird saying it because I don't put in the work like y'all. Like I feel like.
Yeah, but that's just another little a tool set that you have though, because now it's just kind of like, what else can you do other than just being a one thing? What else can you do, right? Adding more tools.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like look like that. But one thing I know is that I think this helps is that like you can't be just that thing. Like you have to have a regular life. You have to have somewhere you recharge with, or somewhere where you go and do regular person shit, because that's what makes your content good. Is when people feel like they can relate to you. And when all you like just to go back to comedy, it's all I know. Like like I meet comics who are grinding on open mics. They only hang out with comedians. That's like every night they're off. They hang out at the comedy club, and it's like some of them either work or don't work or work minimally, don't have girlfriends or don't have like spouses, whatever. They're all in on that. And I've been there before. I've been in that situation, and it's like, what are you going to talk about that somebody can fucking relate to? You hang out at picnic tables, fucking smoking cigarettes with your boys. That's when your fucking jokes turn into, like real weird inside baseball shit, or you make jokes about comedy that like the average person doesn't understand, or fucking whatever. Like, it's like comedians who have a job or have a sport or have a hobby or something they fucking do that puts them in contact with the real world. Before, every time I've been full-time comedy, as like when I was full-time on the road for like 3 years, I wrote a good amount of material. I did a better job perfecting existing material. But there was a time earlier in my career, it was around like 2000. And do you know that time that I posted that fucking ICP thing and some random juggalo dude got mad at me, and you had to be like, hey, yo, I know this guy. He does comedy.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that time period, my pops just passed away, and I got some money from him. And I was like, all right, well, fuck. Let me move back to Texas. And I told myself, like, I'm going to do comedy full time. I moved back to Austin, Texas, and I fucking had the least productive comedy year of my life. I went to open mics. I met people. I did a lot of drugs. I partied a lot. I didn't really accomplish anything. I didn't write anything. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm broke again. I had to go fucking work. And I started working again. And that was when I started writing bits again, and started actually because it was like, oh yeah, when you sequester yourself from fucking real life and don't experience it, you got nothing to say. Nobody wants to, like anything you come up with, the jokes you come up with are going to be weird. Nobody likes them, because it's like, what are you talking about?
You think they're funny, but not everybody else thinks they're funny. Before we start wrapping this up, man, I just wanted to ask you, like, who are some of your influences, like your favorite comedians that kind of like, we're like, damn, like, because you said it earlier, like, you liked comedy and you're like a student of comedy. Like, what were some of the
Yeah.
comedians that were like, damn, like I liked his material and some of that we may not know, past, present, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So, my number one, like the biggest figure I have in my life, comedy wise, is George Carlin.
Okay.
I got into George Carlin, we stopped hanging out in the summer after fourth grade when I moved. I would say 4 years later, in eighth grade, I discovered George Carlin. Blew my mind, broke my brain open. I didn't know you could think that way. It is. I got his book. It was called Brain Droppings. It was his first book, and it was just like a collection of stand-up, and it had multiple chapters that were just like proto Twitter. They were like kind of like just random little thoughts, and like I didn't know, like I'd never seen anything like that before, and so I got that opened my mind and really like. Also, I grew up in a military family. My parents were cool. They were reasonable people. But, you know, we got a big, Carlin's very anti-establishment, very about questioning authority.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't heard a voice like that. I hadn't heard a voice that was like, hey, because my parents were soldiers, you know, they went and fought in conflicts, and they weren't like war hawks, but they would be like, you know, hey, we're going over there to help. I have to go to Bosnia. We're helping these people. And that was the first time I'd ever heard anybody tell me like, hey, maybe we're not really helping that much over there.
You're like, hold on a second.
That was revolutionary for me. I got a hefty dose of like, hey, America, we're all right. You know, like, I got a lot of that growing up. And I started reading Carlin, and it was like, it made me question everything. And then like, I looked at it like comedy. It made me laugh, but like when it came into like stand-up comedy out the gate, like one of the Chappelle, our generation, we had Chappelle's show, all of his stand-up specials, loved him. Still one of my favorite comedians of all time. I think he is morphing into a crazy old man. That's just me. Like I'd be remiss if I didn't say he was one of my biggest fucking influences. Go back and watch my early stand-up sets, and I do a lot of like the same little moves that he used to do. Like, he had this one move he would always do where it was a guy, like he would pantomime like fastening up a coat and walking away. And he would usually say something like, whatever. I fucking, dude, I did that so much when I first started out. Bill Burr, huge influence on me. I love that he rides a line that I try to ride, where he's actually, he comes off like a crass Boston dude, but if you listen to him talk, he's very progressive. Like he's a very like forward-thinking guy. He's very, he's A+, checks out on issues of race and gender, and like he's not impressed by rich people and shit like that. So I'm super far left in my politics. You followed me on Facebook for a few years. You know what kind of asshole I am. So I'm like so far left. I think the Democrats are fucking Republicans. I'm that guy. And so he fucking like I love that he does that thing where he rides that thing of like, I am this is the same, like you could show this comedy to your uncle and he'd think it was funny, and you can show this comedy to your boys and think it's funny, but you can show it to like a progressive friend and they'd be like, oh, he's actually making a point. Like, I know, like that. I try to kind of that has influenced me. But one thing that when it comes to influences, I found this out as a road comic, which is hilarious, or to me. Austin comedy. So Austin comedy went through two phases. Right now we're in post-Rogan phase. But I was part of the old school crowd. And Austin used to be known for two things, was having like weird, odd nerd comedy. And also being having, within Texas at least, we were notorious for having what some people might say unearned access to the industry. Because Austin was like, you know, like we got shit. Like my boys Devin Walker and Andrew Dismukes are SNL cast members, and I came up doing open mics to those guys. Like those are homies. I do Andrew show when I'm in New York, and so we were putting up points on the board. Vanessa Gonzalez, she was just on HBO last night. She has an HBO Latino special. Like she fucking rules. She's one of my best friends in comedy. And so like we were doing our thing, but we had this. Especially among the other big Texas cities, we had this thing of like, oh, Austin, it's like all these fucking, you know, like these somewhat funny dudes who just do nerdy, weird comedy, and the industry's lining up to suck their dicks. Because that was kind of happening.
You're in the right place at the right time, so everybody's kind of hating.
Like there was a whole thing where these two Austin comedians went on one of those TV judge shows. And fucking some Houston comic, they were arguing about some dumb shit about online bullying, but this Houston comic summed it up. He said, oh, classic Austin, two idiots yelling at each other and somehow they wind up on TV. So like, That was the thing. But the Austin comedy for a while was very like we were fans of ourselves. So that being said, when I was on the road and people would ask me, like, we started talking, like, if you're doing a long drive with a comic and you're just talking about favorite bits or whatever, all of my bits that I like really love and like the whole deer are from people that are from Austin that nobody's fucking heard of.
Yeah, they're like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I'll talk about like Martin Urbano, who's now a Tonight Show writer, example. He has one of my favorite jokes of all time, and it's about like, this is the opening is fucking the other day, my uncle's a real piece of shit. We all thought he was cheating on my aunt, and we had never had any proof until one night we caught him red-handed in the act of having sex with me.
Damn.
And then he goes, yeah, it was already hilarious. And then he goes,
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, yeah, I love that. And he's a Mexican comic too. So then he goes, yeah, my uncle heard that joke and he wasn't too happy about it. He actually told me, but not for the reasons you think. He said, hey, you should do more jokes about being Mexican.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Here we go. My Tio is a real piece of shit. We all thought he was cheating on my tia, but we never had any proof until una noche. I caught him red-handed in the act of making enchiladas while having sex with me. That's one of my favorite jokes of all time. Martin Urbano, he's on the road right now. He's doing a show called the Apology Tour. He's hilarious, and we used to sneak him into bars when he was 20 and get him drunk, and now this dude's like writing for the Tonight Show.
That's so dope, man.
That guy to death. Yeah, all my favorite jokes and shit come from Austin comedians that more than likely you may not have heard of.
Right. But with all that, with all being said, man, like the grind and being a part of that little hot pot of all the comedian stuff, like how do you keep that drive like for yourself, like with all the jokes and everything aside, for yourself, like how do you keep like, fuck, I just keep getting better, keep doing this, keep doing that? How does that drive, because a lot of people can lose drive in doing anything, even if they love, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, I love doing content because I don't think it's work. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy making videos. I really do enjoy it. So that's what drives me, because I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, so it comes from different places. And like I said, I'm going through one of those things right now where I had to kind of reach back in myself and find the energy to keep going. And it was, like I said, I got off the road recently. And while I was off the road, Austin exploded. And while I was on the road, Austin exploded. I would come back and I would usually do a month on, a month home, and a month out, And I'd be back in Austin and I would just do my homie shows. I didn't get out of my bubble. And all these new clubs were opening up. Fucking Joe Rogan was here. All these cats were coming through. And it was just, it was like a landscape that I was probably a little intimidating, because I was like, man, I already fucking established myself here. I got to reestablish myself. Fuck. And it was frustrating. So I would just say, I just kind of escaped. It's like, fuck it, I'm just going to disappear into the road. I'm just going to go do my shows on the road, come back and whatever. And like, I got back, it was like, damn, all right. So now I need to make a move. I need to go out and go to these open mics. And it was hard. I went out and like, I would show up and I'd be hanging out and it'd be like, I already fucking did this, man. I already hung out. I already did the late nights. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, I would go do the late nights, do the hangouts where no questions asked. Like, yeah, I'll show up. Let's go. And I was like, I already did that shit. I don't have it in me to do it again. But like, I just kind of, once I recorded my special in December, and I was like, okay, now all those jokes are kind of fucking burnt, like I could do them until the special drops. Once the special drops, I need new shit. And so I started writing jokes again and hitting mics. And at first it was frustrating. But like, I really do like writing jokes and doing comedy on stage. I just love it. And I also, and that's the innocent inspiration, but there's also a little bit more of like I would say not mean spirited, but a little more of like hey, no, fuck that. Like I want to show y'all that I can do this.
Hell
I
yeah.
show y'all that I'm better than y'all.
Fuck yeah.
Like honestly, that was what got me out of the slump. Was like I went out to some shows, and like there's so many funny comedians in Austin, new and old, not talking shit. But I got booked on some shows with some newer cats, and they're inexperienced. They're just younger, like they're younger, they're newer to the game. They don't have the chops, or at least, like they don't, it's not there yet.
Yeah.
And I would do shows and I'd watch them fumble these hot ass crowds. And I'd just be like, fuck that. I can knock that shit out the fucking park, man. Mm. Let me on stage. Let me get up, bump me up further or earlier in the lineup. I don't give a fuck if I go later or not. I'll go up right now. And it kind of hit back to the hip hop days. I used to battle rap people, and I was like, I was always getting put on the spot. Oh, you're white, freestyle. Show us what you got,
Yeah.
And so I like that. I put my back's against the wall. I fucking go.
Yeah.
And so that I had to tap into that, which is probably like a little like, I don't know, it's a little less a little less rosy. It's not as thing of just like, I love comedy and I love the art form and I
Yeah.
wanted to do it. I was like, no, right now, what got me out of my slump that I was in previously was like, I want to show these cats I'm better than them.
Yep.
I want to show these cats, like, when they let me on stage, they're going to be like, oh, fuck, this dude just shut the fucking show down. And like, and sometimes it's the love of the game, and sometimes it's the love of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's just, it can go back and forth, and you got to know which one you need at which moment. And I fooled myself into being like, I not fooled myself, but I was like, I was drawing from the wrong well.
Yeah.
At first, and then it was like, no, dog, get fucking. Talk your shit. Go up there, be a little cocky. That's always been kind of my thing. Is like I'm like comically confident, you know, like, and like people are like, this fat ugly motherfucker can't be this confident, like, you know, like, and it's like, no, dog, I am somehow. I don't know how to do it either, and I had to like rediscover that within myself, and it helped outside of comedy too, because it was like, man, that's the part of me when I was, you know, rapping back in Killeen. It was in the band. It was like I was doing fucking, you know, I was playing shows when I was a screamer in a hardcore band and my collar was popped and I had J's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, I was this big character, and like having to draw back into that, it was like the confidence boost. I was like, nah, get there, go up on stage, do it because you're fucking better than them.
Yep.
You know that you're better than them. And sometimes that's what you need. Like Anthony Jeselnik, who's another hilarious comedian. I don't know if you know Anthony Jeselnik.
Is he like, he's kind of like the, I don't want to like interpret his like comedy. I don't know if it's the same guy. He's like a little dry sometimes, or
super dark one-liners.
Yeah,
he's known for. Just like, we're just like one of his famous jokes is, you know, actually, my mom should have been on one of those planes on 9/11. I think.
Damn.
Yeah. So that, but he did a quote on this comedy podcast one time. They were like, why, like, what do you want your legacy in comedy to be? And he was like, that I destroyed it, that I made it harder for the guy after me to do it. I want people to go like I want my performances to outshine future performances, and people know that the luster just isn't there for the following people. And that sounds like shitty and conceited, but it's like, no, man, that's like, because it's very competitive, and it's very individualistic.
Yep.
Comedy is like improv is collaborative, and I love my improv friends, but they're fucking nerds. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's the thing in comedy. There's a joke that improv kids were bullied at school, and improv kids were beat up at school. Stand-up comedians were beat up at home. And so yeah, if you want collaboration, go to that. But like, stand-up is very individualistic. It's about who. It's about you. It's about I'm so fucking funny. I'm the guy on stage right now, and sometimes that's the well you got to draw from. So that keeps me going. Right now, I'm in that mode. I guess I'm on my fucking I'm on my Eminem kamikaze shit right now.
Hell yeah. Well, that's the thing. You have to have that chip on your shoulder and that confidence. Because I tell people when it comes to the content, I always try to make sure that I'm learning and getting better, and I'm not just doing what everybody else is doing. It might not work for me or for everybody else, but I always feel like, damn, Jimmy's doing this. Damn, doing that. I'm like, fuck yeah, I am. Like, I start separating myself, and people start, they start taking me more serious in my craft and what I'm trying to do, because they see that I'm putting in the work and I'm actually doing I'm not ever that type of guy. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I just do shit. That people are like, oh, fuck, you're doing that. I'm all, yeah, man. I'm not the type of guy that's going to sit there and be like, hey, guys, this year I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to start doing shit. And everybody like, damn.
Doing it.
That's what drives me. And then when people say, damn, you're tearing it up, I'm all, fuck yeah. Like, that's what drives me. Like, knowing that I have a mission and I'm doing this because I want to do it and I'm doing it my way. Yeah. Hey, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's go.
It's irreplaceable. Yeah. Like, you really can't, like, you know, like, I think if it comes from a good place, like for me, it comes from a love of comedy. I really do love comedy. And if you love something, what do you love more than to be known as the best person at it, or at least that you have to be mentioned when they talk about it. Like, George Carlin has a famous quote where he said, I want my contribution to comedy to be that you can't discuss it without mentioning me. And I was like, yeah, that's
pretty
cool.
dope.
Like, and he nailed it. Like, will I have that impact on the game? More than likely not. But
right? But maybe in the Austin area.
Yeah. But if you're working towards it, man, and like if you love what you're in, there's no problem with like making. There's nothing wrong with being like, my motivation is to be the fucking best at this, to be better than you. That's that's you need that,
right? And having that chip on your shoulder, I think it always a good thing, man. I just feel like everybody does. If anything, I've learned the past 4 years with doing this content thing is everybody has different lanes and everybody's pushing it in different paces. And I have no issues with it. Like how you were saying, I like that you credit people that are comedians. Yeah, he's a comedian from so and so. Oh, I'd say the same thing. Like, hey, he's a streamer. Like, hey, there's a streamer buddy. He's a content buddy. I still give him the props, but when you're in that circle, everybody knows where everybody's at. Like certain levels, you know what I mean? But you still give the respect, you know what I mean? But I think that's how it should be, because like everybody has a different level of respect when it comes to the certain game, but everybody knows what's up, you know what I mean? Within,
exactly.
You know, everybody knows what's up, you know what I mean? Because sometimes a lot of people try to like, I'm a streamer on Twitch. Like, bitch, ain't nobody watching you, but you are a streamer on Twitch. You are a streamer on Twitch. You sure are, but you know what I mean? I'm not taking that away from you, but you know, like you overselling the fact that you're a streamer, you know, is another thing, but dude, that's just a whole other thing. But yeah, man, I get you, man. But to be confident saying, hey, I'm a comedian and I do this and I do that, and you could show it. You know what I mean? And you're confident in saying it, because a lot of people like always get hesitant when it's not something that people hear about. Jimmy, you have a podcast? Yeah, man, I have a podcast. I talk about this and things like that. Really? Like, yeah, man. And I don't like shy away. But at the same time, I don't oversell it. Yeah, man, check me out. Yeah. We do all this and all. I'm like, look, if you want to check me out, you know my name, and there it is. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, dude. That's the way to be about it, man. It's like, and like one thing I like with comedy is like it's kind of fun though. It's like, man, there's this irreplaceable fucking feeling, and again, this is why I chase this shit. And when you get off stage and everybody knows you fucking smoked it, like everybody's just like, God damn, dude.
That's
like
dope.
I do the comedy hip hop group Vanilla Presley. We had a show last night at the Green Room. We opened up for Jamar Neighbors. It was fucking fun as shit. But like there's a comics between us and Jamar, and like everybody did good. Everybody had a good set. But like it's no matter what you do, like we have beats and we're rapping. You know, so it's very hard to like top the energy. You know, so I'm not knocking comics. But like I got on stage and this comedian came up to me. He's like, "Bro, y'all left them tired." He was like, they were tired, dude. Like,
y'all were too much. Like the next person is fucked.
That's what I want, dude.
Yeah.
What I love is that like that's an irreplaceable feeling. Where like you get the fuck off stage and you know that person, they might have a good set, but they ain't having a great.
Yeah,
one.
hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, man. Before we start wrapping this up, man, let everybody know where they can find you, what what projects you coming up. I know you mentioned your special and shit like that. Let us know where we can all find that and where we can follow you, brother.
100%. So I had a special that's be coming out, aiming for May, early June. It's called I Don't Even Work Here. It'll be posted. I'm just gonna do it on YouTube. Fucking throw it up. Come check it out. But also, I do a podcast called Lie, Cheat, and Steal.
Which is dope. It's funny. I love it. I love the clips.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. I love the clips.
Yeah, we talk about scam artists. The tagline is it's a podcast about liars, frauds, thieves, and bullshitters. And we cover stuff all the way from we just did a recent one about a guy who started a solar powered generator company, and it turned out to be a huge Ponzi scheme. And then we had he stole $900 million from investors, and he lived like a fucking rock star while he was doing it. So you couldn't even be mad at the guy. That was cool. But then we'll do stories like from the 1800s.
I know. I saw. I was like, "What the fuck?" The old ass shit. This guy stole $1 million from somewhere, like a British guy. I was like, "What the fuck? How do you even find this
dude,
shit?"
Yeah, we'll do stuff. We have one story that's from like 1123, from like the year 1123. It's where it starts at that. It's basically the King of Scotland had a throne called the Stone of Scone, and it was this throne they ordained Scottish kings on, and one king came through and stole it, and it stayed. Whenever you see fucking like Queen Elizabeth sitting on that fucking chair, that stone is under her chair, and it's like a kind of a big fuck you to Scotland. But like in the 1950s, some Scottish college students got drunk one night and were like, "We're getting it back," and they broke into Buckingham Palace and stole this fucking rock. Insane stories. Anything where someone is using weaponized dishonesty.
Yeah,
we'll do an episode. Also,
nice.
Yeah. So if you like true crime, but the murder shit, it can be a little much. I love true crime, but sometimes you can only listen about somebody getting fucking stabbed so much. So if you want like crime and investigation and like scams and shit like that, that's the podcast for you. Lie, Cheat, and Steal. Also, I'm in a comedy rap group called Vanilla Presley. We have videos online at Vanilla Presley. Oh, the podcast is at Lie, Cheat, Steal Podcast on everything. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. You can check that out. Not sure when this episode is going to drop. So let's see. What do I have show-wise coming up? I don't know, but here's how you can find out. You can just follow me I'm at PZTX. It's PEEZYTX, PZ Texas. I started that Instagram when I was still thinking I was going to be a rapper. So
keep it going.
Everybody's like, change
Man,
it
you're
to
still
your
a
real
rapper.
adult
Technically,
name.
you're still a
Yeah, I
rapper.
still am. I was rapping last night.
There you go.
So, yeah, people will be like, they'll be like, change it to your fucking real actual name, like an adult. And I'm like, no. So, yeah. At PZ Texas, PEZYTX, and I post all my show dates. And even though I'm off the road full time, I still hit the road for a week at a time here and there. Back in January, I did shows up in the Midwest, and so I'm still on the road on occasion. Come fuck with me if you're in the Austin area, though. You can see me all the time.
Fuck yeah, man! And I'll have all those links down there, guys. Cool. If you're listening or watching and shit like that. But thank you so much for sharing all those kind of shit with you, man. I can't wait to see you in person and do your thing, man. That'll give me more of a reason to get down to Austin to do some other shit that I want to do for my kind of shit. But if I ever do, man, I will let you know ahead of time, man. I would love to see you kill on stage, bro.
Shit. If you ever come down, we'll talk about this offline. If you ever come down, we can hop up in the studio. We want to do an Austin episode. And
hell yeah, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. But y'all make sure you guys go check them out, man. Like I said, man, we're all having all types of people on here, man. We're just trying to broaden the different topics and get people's out there, because a lot of my mission out here, guys, is that everybody has something that they're trying to pursue. Everybody's has freaking different ways of pursuing and has different journeys, man. Everybody just strive. I always try to show people like, hey, man, you can do it in your own way. You don't have to fucking shoot for the moon, but hey, man, you can fucking do and have a okay life and a decent life doing what you really enjoy doing, man. And I'm just been fortunate to be able to reach out to people to share their stories like that, man. So thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, brother. Love
hey, man, for sure, man. Y'all make sure you guys check us out. I'm on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. I'm on all that shit. Make sure to go check out my boy Patrick. I'll have all the links and everything at the bottom, man. Until next time, y'all take care. Peace out, homies.